system are you thinking, hospital? Is RAM a four-legged mountain sheep? And bits and bytes happen around the dinner table? If so, well then you are in the wrong place, because this is Tech Talk Colorado with Tom and Rena Clark.
I know. Yay. Welcome back, everyone. This is Tom and Rena Clark with Tech Talk Colorado, and we're sponsored by Elk Creek Computers. And we have a bunch of different things. We've got security stuff, and we got some world's largest and world's first things to talk about. But that'll be later in the show. And we have the security thing, but if you need to step away at any time during the show, you can always pick the show up again by just going to the ibnetwork.us, and you can listen to our show at 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. 7 days a week. But you can also connect with us through our website at techtalkcolorado.com and our Facebook page at Tech Talk Colorado. And if you go there, please like our page and share it with your friends too. We always have fun things to talk about and, some interesting topics. And it's not all, you think about computers and the generation of computers, but it's really technology, because technology is in so much of everything that we do and touch. You just can't get away from it anymore. We are in the middle of it. So, but anyway, apparently, Tom has come across something about the AMD chips, and they're having their own Spectra-like security flaws. And I thought, okay, Intel went through theirs. Now the AMD has surfaced.
Yes, they have. Excuse me.
So what's going on with that?
Well, some Israeli researchers. The company is called CTS Labs, I'm sorry, have basically they were kind of looking around. They going like, well, Intel has this, basically Intel has the Spectre and the meltdown flaws, and they're thinking to themselves, well, what's going on with AMD? And so they were doing some testing of actually some of the chipsets and some of the functionality that were connected to AMD, and they found the little flaw. And so what they did was they kind of started to dig into the AMD processor and the chipsets, and they found a number of flaws, 13 to be exact.
Oh my goodness. Not just a couple. That's
not just a couple. Now, there's a little bit of controversy about how they revealed the flaws. Most of the other researchers, they contact the company, they give them 90 days to 120 days to resolve it, and then they announce the flaw together, and they talk about the details of it, etc. Well, CTS Labs decided to do it a little bit different, actually probably a lot differently.
Sounds like they went straight to it, didn't they?
Yeah, they gave AMD 24 hours to to kind of respond to it, and then they revealed the flaw, and a lot of people were going like, they shouldn't have done it that way, blah blah blah. I'm of two minds on that particular issue. On one side, the flaw is there. Mm-hmm. It's in the system.
Right. I
can't believe that CTS Labs is the only one that's actually found the issue. Mm-hmm. There's probably other researchers that have found it. They just sold it to, like Russia or the United States or China or,
right.
to make money off of it. And so the flaw's there. We should know about it as soon as possible. So at least we can kind of take a look at it and see what we want to do with it.
Right.
There was also some speculation that CTS Lab had a position in short selling AMD stocks, which they would make them a lot of money, and when the stock price dropped. But they do claim that they do not have any position in Intel or AMD stock. So I don't think that particular that particular issue holds any water.
Well, I think that's normal to have that gut reaction too, because you always worry about that.
Well, they're kind of looking at. I mean, it's very reasonable to take a look at why they're doing it and what's in it for them.
Right.
And it could be just the notoriety of bringing up these flaws makes them a known, viable research company, in which will bring them customers. So that's kind of what they want.
Okay.
Okay, they announced it last Tuesday, so it's been out there for a while. We just didn't get a chance to look at it last week because it happened during our broadcast. It affects the AMD Ryzen and the EPYC processors, or EPYC, they like to call it. The Ryzen processors are a desktop processor, so you'll find it in desktop system. The EPYC is a server processor, and you'll find it in servers, web servers, file servers, cloud servers, whatever, things that you're not worried about what's going on in the user interface. You're worrying about the processor power. AMD has also, basically said, security is our top concern. We're going to look at this, and we'll get patches out as soon as we can. CTS Labs seems to think it's going to take months for all the patches to come out.
Well, you think about it, 13 things that they have to look at.
13 things, and because they're in the processor, and it's actually like changing the BIOS and patching the firmware of the processor. It's the kind of thing that if you get infected, there's almost no way to detect that it's there. So it's actually a very serious kind of attack.
Sure.
Now they basically said, here, these things have happened. We have proof of concept, so they actually proved that you could do it. But they didn't release the proof of concept except to one person, and let's see what I'm trying to find the name of the guy. But it's a company called Trail of Bits. They paid them $16,000 to review the flaws, and the man's name is Dave Guido, and he says that yes, the flaws are valid, and you do need to kind of fix them. On one side, now the seriousness of the actual fault. You have to have local administrator privileges in order to be able to install the patches. Install the to mitigate, to do the attack. So if you're on a system and you run it, and you run it in user mode instead of administrator mode with users in Windows, much less of an issue. But there's always an administrator account that you could leverage to get into it. Because of that, it's hard to get into it. However, as we talked about last week at the drawing a blank on the name. So, we talked about this CanSec security show that they had, and we talked about the prizes.
Right.
And a lot of these vulnerabilities were where they got administrative privileges on the system. So difficult, but not impossible to actually get to the point where you have administrative privileges, where you can break in and have administrative privileges. And it gives you, once you have that, there's pretty much any kind of spyware you could throw on. But this is what's really serious about this, is that because it hides inside of the BIOS and the processor, very difficult to find. So it's a pretty nasty kind of flaw. Now, all the flaws, they're actually grouped into 4 types. They have the one that's called master key. When a computer starts up, a device starts up, it typically goes through a secure boot process. So it uses a processor to check that nothing on your computer has been tampered with, and launches only trusted programs. Okay? So the master key vulnerability gets around this startup check by installing malware in the computer's BIOS. That's part of the system that actually controls how it starts up.
Right.
Okay. After that, it installs malware on the secure processor itself. So the piece of software, the piece of hardware, software, firmware that actually kind of goes through and does all the checking, you modify that. And so that way you can pretty much load any programs you want, including your malware programs. So that one is in Ryzen processors. See here, is that I think that's on both of the processors. Mm-hmm. And then there's Ryzen Fall, which is a really nice name. It specifically affects AMD Ryzen chips, so desktop processors. Allows malware to completely take over the secure processor. So it's the same kind, but just through a different processor. What that means, would also be able to access protected data like encryption keys and passwords, which is a bad thing. Mm-hmm. And then and these are places that the normal attacker would not be able to access because they're hidden by the processor. And it says if the attacker could bypass the Windows Defender credential guard, they could use the stolen data to spread their assault to other computers. So that means that once they get a control of one, and if they get control of this Windows Defender credential guard, then they can start passing the infection around to other Windows computers on the network. So, okay. We're about halfway through with this.
Yeah.
So
really? You got more on this one.
We got more on this.
Okay. So we've got to go to a break. And when we come back, Tom's going to pick up on this topic and delve into it a little bit more. So don't go away.
Okay.
You're listening to Tech Talk Colorado on the IB Network, sponsored by Elk Creek Computers. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
This week, my name is Harley Mitchell. Next week, I'm not sure yet. Maybe I'll use your name. You see, I'm a cyber criminal, and I steal information that defines who you are. Things like your driver's license number, your birth date, your home address, your office address, your social security number, your medical information, insurance cards, business licenses, and if I can get it, your birth certificate. If I can get one, I can get the rest. It's not personal. It's just business. Once I have your information, I bundle it with others and I sell it. Not just once, but over and over and over and over and over.
Due to recent massive data breaches, your personal information is now available for cyber criminals like Harley to buy and sell to their underworld counterparts for profit. Bad people with bad intentions hiding behind your identity. Don't be fooled and lock down your financial life. Use the professionals that Fortune 500 companies use, ID Shield and Legal Shield. It costs less and reaches further. Don't lock down your life. Call Andrea Wacker and get the right protection for the right problem. Andrea Wacker is your Lady of Justice. Call now at 719-243-3174. That's 719-243-3174.
Rena, how is a car like a computer?
I don't know. How?
If you don't do routine maintenance, they get gooped up and fail early. By performing routine maintenance, your system performance will be improved. Keep it secure and find issues while they were small.
Well, Elk Creek Computers will perform routine maintenance on your computers for $99 per system. Call us at 719-576-4122 to schedule an appointment today.
Click the Tune In Follow tab and have instant access to your favorite IB programming. IB is your internet broadcasting network.
Welcome back to Tech Talk Colorado with Tom and Rena Clark, sponsored by Elk Creek Computers. And Tom's been talking today about the AMD chips that are having their own Spectra like security problems, and 13 different things were detected that are issues. And if you've missed part of this, you want to go back and listen to it to find out really what's going on with that, because we've talked about Spectra and the meltdown with the Intel chipset. So the way to do that would be to go to the ibnetwork.us and listen to us either at 11 a.m. or 5 p.m. and it runs 7 days a week. And you can go to our website at techtalkcolorado.com, or you can go to our Facebook page at Tech Talk Colorado.
And of course you can listen to the IB Network through TuneIn on your Amazon device or your Cortana device, or pretty much any, or your Google Home device for that matter. Pretty much all of them will be able to allow you to get the broadcast. And then we also post them on SoundCloud, so you can get to SoundCloud and you can listen to this one plus all of the past ones once they get posted. So a lot of ways that you can listen to us. If you go to Facebook, we'd love it if you shared and liked our page so we know that you're listening. But all right, let us continue on. We talked about Ryzen, and we talked about the master key. Now we're going to talk about Fallout. Fallout is similar to Rise and Fall. And I'm not going to say too much more other than it is the same kind of attack as on the Rise and Fall, only it's designed for the AMD EPYC secure processors. So, and as I was mentioning, the Windows Credential Guard, Windows Credential Guard does really well at protecting passwords on machines and not allowing them to spread around. So if you can get into there, that's a very bad thing. But Fallout, like I say, Fallout is like the Rise and Fall, except it's designed for the EPYC processors. And of course, the Rise and Fall, something to be aware of is that Microsoft recently announced a partnership in which Azure cloud servers can use EPYC processors. Don't know how many are out there or what the percentage of AMD, the Intel processors are in the Azure cloud, but it's there. So, and then the last one is called Chimera. It comes from two different vulnerabilities: a firmware one and hardware. The Ryzen chipset allows malware to run on it. Because of the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth traffic flows through the chipsets, the attackers could use that to infect your device. And so you can install things like keyloggers, which would allow attackers to see everything typed on it on an infected computer. The chipset issues mean attack can install malware onto the processor itself. So what can you do at this point? There's not a whole lot. I would say the standard goes. Make sure that you're keeping your systems with the latest security patches. Make sure your antivirus has the latest security patches on it. Make sure, if you can, if your system allows it, or some software. If you're using, let's say you're a medical office using practice software and it has to run in administrator mode, then you're kind of stuck. But if you can run in user mode, create a user that runs in user mode and get away from running in administrator mode, that'll make you safer and make it harder for these. And also keep in mind that they released the fact that these things exist. They didn't actually release the exact attack vectors yet, except to the Guido. So it's probably going to be a while before we actually see attacks, but the attacks are very possible. So
what if you if you change your processor out, are you going to run into the same problem?
Well,
You can't.
You can't without replacing the motherboard.
Okay, because the processor...
Because the processor and the chipset are bonded.
Okay.
You know, kind of like... like your head is bonded to your neck.
Yeah, it's kind of an all-in-one.
It's an all-in-one thing. The chipsets are very different.
All or none.
Yeah, well, that and the sockets that they plug into are very different, and there's no way that you can take an Intel processor and plug it into an AMD motherboard. So
yeah, I just remember all the pins that used to be, and I don't know if that's true anymore. 10 years ago, all the pins that were on the processor that went into the socket that was on the motherboard.
Yeah.
So they've changed that.
Well, Intel, they came out with a new 5 or 6. Let's see, with the Pentium. Not the Pentium. With the cores, the first cores had, and some of the later Pentiums had a socket where it was a zero insertion, not a zero insertion force. It was a pin grid array. Okay, so underneath on the socket, there's a bunch of pins that are exactly the right height.
Looks like a pin cushion.
It looks like a pin cushion, and then the processor just looked like a circuit board with a bunch of pads on it. And you lay the processor on there, and then you clamp it down, and that pushes it onto the connections underneath.
Right.
And then you have to be really careful with those. You don't want to bend any of the pins. You don't want to get any dirt in it, because then you basically ruin the motherboard.
Right.
AMD at that time, and I haven't put together an AMD system in a while, I'm thinking they're still using a pin grid array. So they basically had pins. So they still have the billions of pins that you have to line up.
Right. And it's not very easy.
Well, but they're so precise that when you get it right, the processor just kind of drops into where it's supposed to. Okay.
All right. Now, there's finally, this is a topic that we're going to talk about now that we've actually covered a little bit before, how the audio starts playing on your computer, and it's like, where in the heck is that coming from? Well, finally, the autoplay audio in videos will be blocked in Chrome 66.
Yeah.
So you won't have that problem with it being so annoying. It's like, how it pops up and it's like you're looking for it so you can shut the stupid thing off, and sometimes you can't even get rid of it to begin with, and it will play over the top of something that you're trying to listen to.
Yeah, that is very annoying. I find that, well, the way that I browse is there's some sites that I go to every day. And so I set up my browser. So when I start it opens all the home pages for the site.
Everything that you're going to be in.
A lot of the things. Yeah, well, the things that I normally go to every day. So I don't have to go and open them. They just open, right? Well, the problem is that some of these sites have autoplay videos in it. And it'll sit there and it'll be fine, and all of a sudden you hear for a couple seconds, and then it goes away, and you're going like,
what was that?
I'm glad I don't have a weak heart. So Chrome's, and there are some features, for instance, Mozilla has a way to mute them without actually opening the page. It'll put a little icon. They started putting a little icon up in the tabs showing that where the audio is coming from. So at least you can go to the tab and you can close the tab if you need to, if it won't stop playing, or you can click on it and mute it. And Chrome, in version 64 of Chrome, they added the option to permanently mute specific websites. So if you have a site that has autoplay on it and you don't want them to come up, you can go to that specific website, and you can put that site in Chrome 64 and turn that off. And so when you go to that site, it won't autoplay anything. Now in Chrome 66, they're actually going to turn off autoplay. They're going to automatically mute autoplay on every tab.
Oh, okay.
With some rules. So,
of course, you got to have some rules thrown in there, Well,
so and like here's how the new system works. The autoplay will only be allowed under the following circumstances. If the video has no accompanying sound, then it'll allow autoplay. If the user has clicked or tapped on the site interact with it. So if you click on on whatever the video is, it'll play it. If the user has added the site to the home screen for mobile only, so if it's the one that comes up first, your home page, and then if the user has previously shown an interest in the media on the site, so things like things like YouTube, etc. When you go to a YouTube page that has a video on it, you want the thing to play,
right? So.
And there's a little bit more details about it. So that allows you to, it gives you some leeway on it. And of course, advertisers are going if you can't yell at the customers, how will they know? How will we sell our products? And going, well, if you yell at me, I have a tendency not to buy your products.
True.
So
true.
Who
wants to be yelled at?
Yeah, who wants to be yelled at? And frankly...
some of the ways that I've gotten around some of that, too, is I just keep the volume turned off, period, unless there's something that I wanted to listen to.
Yeah. And then there's this MEI score that's calculated, and it's basically the number of significant video plays. So how often do you play back on this site, on that type of site? Will actually be used to kind of determine whether autoplay will be turned on for a site. Okay.
And with that, we've got to go to another break, so don't go away.
You're listening to Tech Talk Colorado. To send us a question or comment, leave a message at our Facebook page, Tech Talk Colorado, or send an email to tclark@elkcreekcomputers.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Delete. 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 Delete.
Have you received an email response from our new client yet?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm having to deal with all this spam in my inbox, and it's becoming very frustrating.
Have you tried adding them to your block senders list?
Yes, but they keep coming back with a different email address, and it's driving me crazy.
I've heard that the experts over at Elk Creek Computers have an excellent spam filtering service that can significantly decrease the amount of spam emails we receive. I think we should give them a call and enroll today.
If you're dealing with spam overload, it might be time to call Elk Creek Computers for their very affordable spam filtering solution. Knowledgeable, trustworthy, and ready to serve, Elk Creek Computers. 719-576-4122. That's 576-4122. Programming produced by and for the Internet Broadcasting Network can be found on TuneIn. Be sure to take us with you by using the TuneIn app on all your mobile devices. This is the IB Network.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Rena and Tom Clark with Tech Talk Colorado, sponsored by Elk Creek Computers, and we've been talking about some interesting topics about Spectra, like security issues.
Yep.
And that's all I'm going to say about it, because if you want to know more, you're going to have to go back and listen to us on the ibnetwork.us. And it does play 7 days a week at 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. And then we have we do post this stuff on our Facebook page at Tech Talk Colorado, and on our website at techtalkcolorado.com, and so that you can get up to speed with what's going on with that. Now we're going to talk about the world's largest solid-state drive, and it claims that it's 100 terabytes.
Yeah, I want one of those.
Oh, you'll never fill that up, Tom. That would be like, if you think about it, that would be like having a video camera running 24/7 for your entire lifetime in order to fill that even up. So forget it.
Well, and it's probably out of my price range.
Yeah.
It probably costs more than a car.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
You think about it, it's 100 1 terabyte drives in a 3.5 inch. 100.
Okay.
So, or 25 4 terabyte drives, or 12.
You can think of that stacked. I think of the old 250 megabyte hard drives, the platter ones. If you stack those, you could go to the moon, Tom.
No, I don't know about going to the moon, but you could probably get into the upper atmosphere for sure.
Okay.
So, yes, now this is kind of funny because it's like something that these drive manufacturers seem to be doing. So, like Samsung they said they launched a 30 terabyte solid state drive with the highest single drive capacity. And then Seagate launched a 60 terabyte drive even earlier, although nobody's actually seen the product yet. So maybe they build a demo and nobody can afford it. Nitro Enterprises show a 15 terabyte drive, but nobody's seen one of those. But Nimbus Data has its Exadrive DC100 has a 100 terabyte capacity, at least in theory. So we'll see. We'll see what it actually shows up. They say it'll use 85% less power per terabyte than the other drives, than these other drives that have been announced. And it hits those power targets by emphasizing affordability and capacity rather than speed. So it's probably not as fast as some of the other drives, but it uses a lot less power. It's going to have a conventional SATA or SAS interface. SAS means serial attached SCSI.
Gee, I haven't heard that word in a long time.
Yeah. And SCSI is it's a disk format that was around when IDE was around. Okay, so Nimbus has blown away the competition. So at 100 terabytes, I'm going like, it's really funny. At the speeds that you can go through with SATA, it would take 43 hours to fill this drive, to actually write every byte in the drive. And then going like, okay.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's incredible. Now, what's different about this one is most conventional solid-state drives are basically based on a single flash controller. So you have a single controller, and the single controller goes and does all the work. It does all the writing and reading and going and checks the state of the bits to make sure that they're not wearing out, which is one of the things that happens with solid-state drives. You can only write to a bit a certain number of times before it wears out, and then you have to actually move data to another bit or another piece, which is actually means that solid-state drives actually have a lifetime, and it depends on usage. So the more you write to it, the shorter the lifespan is going to be. But most of them are set up to have, in a normal environment, to have the 5 to 10 year lifespan, and I'm assuming that this would be the same. But they talk about wearing out and how many times per day you can write to, you can fill the drive to wear it out. And it doesn't make any sense with this drive because it's so big.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Now it can do 100K IOPS, random read writes workload. It can do 500 megabits, like pretty much like all standard drives, like solid state drives. So in that, performance is comparable. But what it does is it has multiple processors in it, and the multiple processors divide the workload. So one of them is set up for reading and writing. One of them is set up for checking around and making sure bits, the ones that are wearing out, and processing those bits. One of them is set up to to do other management processing on it, and provide and to stream data out of it. So by doing that, you can actually get the performance with the large file, because the larger you get, the more work you put on the processor, so they don't scale very well.
Right. So
it's actually pretty innovative. I'm looking forward to see what the actual testing data is going to be. So, then.
This sounds like something that you would put like in a server.
Yeah, it's something you put into a server, large capacity server.
For cloud computing.
For cloud computing, database work, video processing, something where you're using lots and lots of data. Now, they don't talk anywhere about the price, but if you start looking at some of the prices for solid state drives, a 4 terabyte solid state drive is about $1,800 for non-enterprise models, while a 12 terabyte Western Digital Gold Enterprise drive is about $489. So that's about a times 10 advantage in cost per gigabyte. So the price is still pretty high for solid state drives. You actually, when you get down on the low end, like the 120 gig, 240 gigs,
right,
the prices become actually kind of comparable. I mean, you pay more per gigabyte, but in general, when you're getting to those smaller drives, people that I've seen many people that have a terabyte drive in their system because that's what it came with.
Right.
But they're using like 100 gigabytes of it, like 10%. And so you can substitute a solid state drive is about the same price, and it works so much faster. So large is not always great.
Right.
Because of the performance issues.
Right.
So
more is not better.
More is not always better. I mean, terabyte drives are cheap. However, if you don't, if you're just doing standard web browsing, that's kind of like, going to the gas station and say, I've got all I do is drive around town, but I've got a 1,000-gallon tank.
Oh, gee.
Right.
And that would be something that you wouldn't want to haul that around every day. So, but if it's set up where it's set, where you have it set for specifically for storage, especially if you do volumes and volumes of photos and videos and that kind of stuff, you might want to consider doing something like that. But just for regular use, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there's data companies that have multiple petabytes of data that they're storing, and so that makes sense for them.
And that's just, I can't fathom that one either.
Yeah, petabyte. Well, you think of it as like, a megabyte is 1,000,000 bytes, a gigabyte is 1,000 megabytes, a terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes, or 1,000,000 megabytes, right? A petabyte is 1,000 terabytes. So, I mean, you're talking about huge amounts of storage.
And all those bytes, you might as well make it a pie.
Yeah. 3.14, yes.
Okay. All right. So how about the world's first augmented reality telemedicine technology?
Yeah.
So what is that, Tom?
So there's a company called Butterfly Networks, and they've announced...
Is that for butterfly stitches?
I don't know. It's called Butterfly Networks.
Okay.
It's an AI-based health tech startup, and it's revolutionizing how we're doing medical imaging. So, when you get an ultrasound, generally you go to the hospital, right, or the doctor's office,
right,
and you have a trained nurse, and they run the ultrasound on you. Pretty much anyone who's pregnant these days will probably have had an ultrasound
at least once.
But that's a very specific use case. But they can also be used to check the size of your heart, to look for tumors and things like that, because it's
all your organs.
Yeah, it's non-invasive, and it's safer than X-rays. When you don't need the resolution of an X-ray, you can use an ultrasound and get the same information. So this company called Butterfly Network created a product called Butterfly IQ. Butterfly IQ is a portable handheld ultrasound tool with built-in artificial intelligence that you run through a smartphone. So you can have a smartphone or a tablet or whatever, and go, and on site you can do an ultrasound, and it reduced the price of the ultrasound equipment from probably $10,000 to $2,000.
Oh, wow.
So it's a big, a big reduction in price. Because it's portable. It has a built-in battery, and then you have a phone with a built-in battery, so you can use it in the field where you don't have power. So there's a lot of good things about it. But the problem is that there's a very few people that are actually trained to interpret and to correctly use the ultrasound to get the information that the doctor needs. So what they've done is they've created a software package and the ability to use augmented reality, like an augmented reality headset. So the doctor can have an augmented reality headset, can look at what's going on and say, move it here, move it there, and the person that's doing it can
manipulate
around and manipulate it as the expert wants. So you can have a relatively untrained person in the field that are able to do ultrasounds, right, and send it up to the experts where they can direct it and make sure that they're getting the right spot. And then the doctors can, at that point, interpret it. So you're able to take this functionality and get it out into areas that normally wouldn't have it. Third world countries, or even in the U.S., getting an ultrasound is pretty expensive.
In rural areas.
Yeah, ultrasounds are pretty expensive because you have to go into a special place. You're using expensive equipment. You have to have an expert interpret it, blah, 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 right? So, So, yeah, this is a really interesting startup that's doing it. The guy that created this startup is the one that also came up with relatively inexpensive ways of doing DNA analysis.
Okay. And, with that, we've got to go to another break already. So when we come back, we have another World's First.
You're listening to Talk Colorado on the IB Network, sponsored by Elk Creek Computers. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Rena, what's wrong?
We have new employees coming next week, and we need Word and Excel and Outlook and PowerPoint and Access. And I don't know if I should purchase 5 Office licenses or an Office 365 subscription.
Well, the licenses would cost $19.95, but a subscription for 5 years to Office 365 will cost $4.95. This is a huge cost savings. Plus, with the subscription, you get free updates and 1 terabyte of OneDrive storage.
Well, you know what? This sounds like the way to go. So let's get Office 365 ordered today.
To start your own subscription of Office 365, call Tom or Rena at Elk Creek Computers and let them walk you through the convenient subscription process and save time and money. Call them now at 719-576-4122. That's 719-576-4122.
It gives clarity to problem solving. It increases production and focus on the job. It alleviates sleepless and restless nights and fends off stress and tension headaches. No, it's not the latest energy drink or health supplement. It's Legal Shield. Get peace of mind every day, every night, now and forever. Legal Shield. Get it.
To find out more about Legal Shield and how it can protect your family and your business, call Andrea at area code 719-243-3174. That's area code 719-243-3174. Legal Shield. Programming produced by and for the Internet Broadcasting Network can be found on TuneIn. Be sure to take us with you by using the TuneIn app on all your mobile devices. This is the IB Network.
You You are silly, Tom. So welcome back to Tech Talk Colorado with Tom and Rena Clark, sponsored by Elk Creek Computers. And we get a little silly sometimes, but that's okay. Got to
keep
it's
that music. It's
I
that
know,
music, right?
I know. And life is so interesting, just like technology can be so interesting and mind-boggling. Why people do the things they do
because they're crazy,
or even the technology. So, with that being said, if you've missed the first part of the show, you want to go back and listen to it. Go to the ibnetwork.us, and it does play 7 days a week at 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. And you can go to our website at techtalkcolorado.com, or you can go to our Facebook page. And I'm going to go right into the next one because I don't want to run short on time. This is the last segment for the show today. I did mention world's first portable internet encryption device.
Yep.
So I think this would land very nicely. So if you go to a hotel and really worry about how secure you are, this would be a wonderful device for that.
It would be.
Mm-hmm.
And
especially for those that do a lot of traveling, or they do important stuff, and it's like they don't want to be on an unsecured network.
Well, it's called the Kiesel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just did a security presentation for one of my customers, and I said, when you're in a public network, you shouldn't do banking or anything that really requires security,
right? Because
you don't know who's listening. Mm-hmm. You have a device like this. I would say that you're probably going to be as secure as when you're at home. So,
okay.
What this does is it kind of sits between you and the local Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. So you connect to it. It connects to the Wi-Fi. And it uses a virtual private network to connect to a secure server on the Kiesel network, and encrypt everything that comes out of your computer in the local environment. So if anybody is sniffing or trying to do a man-in-the-middle kind of attack on the Wi-Fi, they're not going to see your data because it's going to be encrypted. So it's going to be as safe as you can be in a public network.
And I think that would be really, really beneficial for really small offices that aren't investing a whole lot of money into the security side of it, doing the firewalls and having a secured server that way. This would probably be very beneficial for them.
It would be. And if they're... it would allow them to do their work from pretty much anywhere, especially if they have a cloud-based kind of service. Mm-hmm. So the little device would allow them to, basically run securely pretty much anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the idea behind it. It has, and of course, it has built-in spyware, malware, ransomware detection, it keeps your credit card information.
Does it light up and go do when it's detecting something? I think that would be kind of cool if it did.
Well, it's portable. Mm-hmm. So it's small enough you can carry around with you.
Okay.
Like I said, it uses VPN technology to connect your internet. It also has a 8,000 milliamp hour power pack in it, which is like 10 times the capacity of an iPhone. And so you can actually use it to charge your devices while you are being secure.
That's a plus.
I don't know why they use 8,000 milliamp hours. If they would do a little bit of simplification, they'd find that it's really 8 amp hours. Which is pretty
You know what,
big.
Tom? That's probably a typo.
No, it's not a typo. It's a marketing thing.
Okay.
Which sounds better, 8,000 milliamp hours or 8 amp hours?
Yeah, I see your point.
If you don't know what you're doing, the 8,000 milliamp hours sounds impressive. Mm-hmm. If you know what you're doing, 8 amp hours actually sounds pretty impressive. But okay. So,
for those that don't know.
Yeah. And you can also, if you have two of these devices, you can have one at your office, one at home, and you can actually create a VPN tunnel between the two devices so you can get secure access to your office.
Oh, okay.
That's the way that I recommend that people connect to between a computer and their office and use a VPN tunnel like that. It's the most secure way of doing it. You can use remote control programs, etc., but they're all password based, and somebody guesses your password, now they have access to your computer. With a VPN, there's 2 or 3 levels of passwords that you have to guess before you can actually gain access to the VPN tunnel.
In this device, I'm thinking this would be helpful if you've got an AMD processor. Add that level of security.
It might keep people from being able to attack your system.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
And they also have, like I say, they have ad blocking and anti-phishing connected with it. And they talked about the battery. Now let's talk about how much it costs. So the device itself costs $179, and then they have, and you can buy the device and you can get free VPN service to a limited number of sites, VPN locations, and no additional cost. But it maxes out at 500 kilobits per second, which is not super fast.
And it's actually about the size of the Amazon Dot, which I call Little Dottie because she's a little round hockey puck.
Yeah.
And that's what this device is, very similar in size that way, too. So it wouldn't be that much to cart it around with you.
And it's also very easy to connect to. So there's like a one button. You press the button, you go, and that'll arm it so you can connect to it, and then you connect to it, and then you browse. But there's also, for $60 a year, you can get their premium VPN service, which will give you up to 20 megabits of bandwidth, depending on how fast your internet is, or up to the speed of your internet. And you have 600 locations that you can VPN to. One of the nice things about VPN is that it kind of changes your location logically. So, you're still in Starbucks in the U.S., but if you wanted to watch something on the BBC, you could pick a VPN location in the BBC, in the Britain to connect to, and then you could watch BBC programs for free through your VPN.
Oh, interesting.
Because when they look at your IP address, your IP address is a British IP address, not a U.S. IP address.
Okay.
So, if you're looking for sporting, let's say you're in a blackout area, let's say you live in Pittsburgh and you want to watch the Pirates, but it's blacked out, you can go and, connect to somewhere in Philadelphia or somewhere in New Jersey or somewhere, somewhere else in the country, and then you could stream it. So because they think you're actually in the location where the VPN tunnel comes out, not where your computer actually is. But I mean, that's something that all VPN services will give you. It's not necessarily unique to the Kiesel, but that is something extra that you get. And now the $60 per year will also mean that it's fast enough, assuming that your local internet connection is fast enough, that you can stream HD video, which with the free service, it's probably not going to be a great experience to do high definition video. You have to dumb it down to something that has requires less bandwidth. And then for $600, you can get what they call a lifetime VPN subscription. So you're not paying it per year; you're just paying it up front. If you do a little arithmetic on it, $600 minus, it's probably about the equivalent of 7 years.
But I'm
personally,
thinking,
I would pay the $60 per year.
And you know what? In a year, that device is going to be upgraded into something even more anyway. So why spend the extra?
Well, but it's it has an active company behind it, so it's going to get firmware updates and it's going to keep secure. No matter what you do,
right?
And you may get 7 or 8 years use out of it.
Okay,
but I personally, I would not
do the 1 month,
I would
year,
do it yearly at a time.
Yeah,
just because.
Well, like I'm saying, with the way technology evolves and developments of things, the Internet of Things, why spend additional money on something with all the development that's going on with different devices throughout the year into the next year, to me, it doesn't make sense. So
yeah, I need a timeout clock so I know when we're getting near the end of the segment.
I'm going to time you out. So
I'm going to say duck. Because there might be a Chinese space station.
Well, yeah. Well, Tom has everything you need to know about what is going on with the China's space station falling to Earth. And I know that it's the window of when that's going to happen is between March 30th and April something.
April 4th.
April 4th.
Yep.
And if it happens on April 1st, April Fools.
It'll be foolish. Yeah.
Or maybe that's the joke, Tom.
Well, it's a 19,000-pound chunk of space station.
I know.
That's going to be coming into the atmosphere. And, there's some things you probably ought to be... I think it's just fun.
Well, and I think the thing's going to just burn up, so...
Yeah, and most of them, it's going 17,000 miles an hour. When it hits the atmosphere, it's going to get really hot really fast. Mm-hmm. The space shuttle, when it comes down from orbit, has special tiles that, absorb the heat and kind of spread it around, and it won't burn up, and it, protects the astronauts inside. And even the smallest hole in that shield can cause the thing to explode. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that already. Right. So things like to blow up when they get that hot. Mm-hmm. And I expect that'll be the case with this one.
So the likelihood of it actually hitting anything in a populated area is in the trillions.
Yeah, it's the area that it can come in is between plus 43 north latitude to 43 south latitude. Mm-hmm. That's a fairly large area. And then you take a look at the map, way more than half of that is ocean.
Okay.
So there's a 50% chance it's going to hit in the ocean anyway. Mm-hmm. And then the population centers, where there's dense populations, are maybe 1% of that whole surface area.
Maybe it'll just land right in the middle of the garbage pile that's been floating around out in the middle of the ocean, so they can collect it all together with all the other garbage that's floating around out there.
I was thinking when I was reading the article, they said, one of the cities could be Los Angeles, and I'm going like, Hollywood. Okay.
I go for the garbage pit out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
So frankly, if you got hit by a piece of this, I would go buy a lottery ticket, assume I survived, because you're probably the unluckiest person alive, because you have 100 times lower chance of getting hit by that than getting a winning Powerball ticket. So,
or even getting hit by lightning.
Yeah, lightning is a lot higher.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
It's you have a better chance of getting hit by lightning than getting hit by or winning a Powerball ticket.
Oh, wow. Okay. With that being said, guys, join us next week. We'll have some more fun stuff.
Yep.
You have been listening to Tech Talk Colorado with Tom and Rena Clark. Be sure to listen in every Thursday at 11 a.m. and again at 5 p.m. right here on the IB Network at ibnetwork.us.